back with another plan with me, and this week we are going to be using the kit from my shop, and this one is called Detectives and Dossiers. If you would like to purchase this kit for yourself, I will have a link to it in my Etsy shop. And this is definitely one of my favorite kits that I've designed, and this one is very much inspired by Nancy Drew and detectives and mysteries and all kinds of things like that. If you guys are not familiar with like my other videos, I am a huge fan of Nancy Drew. I loved reading those books when I was a kid. I have recently been rediscovering Nancy Drew over the last couple years with reading all of the Nancy Drew books in the original Nancy Drew Mystery Stories series, which has 175 books, and it is my goal to read every single one. So I have been a big fan of Nancy Drew for a long time, and I also really love the computer games, and I do have a few kits coming up that are inspired by some of the Nancy Drew computer games, and I do have plans to make more of them in the future. But this particular kit is not really based on any particular Nancy Drew mystery or anything. It's just kind of like a little made up kind of story that I kind of wanted to make a little kit inspired by. So there's a few boxes that kind of like tell a story throughout this kit, and I just really like this one, and I haven't used it in quite a while, and I was drawing a blank at what to use for this week, and I was going through my list of kits, and I thought this one would just be a really nice one to throw in there. So this one's kind of like a story of like Nancy investigating a jewelry heist is kind of I guess the vibe behind this one. So like I said, it's not really inspired by a particular story or mystery, but just one that I thought would make up a cute little story kit. So I've also been reading all of the Nancy Drew books and doing like no spoiler reviews on all of the books that I've read so far. And up until now, I have just finished book number 65. So I am getting very close to the halfway point. I'm about, I don't know, maybe 20 books or so from the halfway point. And I had this goal back when I was in, I don't know, maybe like when I was 11 or 12 years old. I can't remember exact, but I was a big fan of Nancy Drew, and I loved reading those books all the time. And I made a promise to myself when I was, like I said, 11 or 12, that I wanted to read all of the Nancy Drew books before I graduated high school. You know, you grow up, your interests change, and you find other things that you like or other books to read, and that definitely is what happened to me. So I was not able to keep my promise to myself of reading all of the Nancy Drew books before graduating high school. And I went several years that I did not pick up a single book in like maybe like 8 to 10 years. I had not read a single book. And since I was such an avid reader as a kid all the way up to high school, it was really like when I got to college that I just did not have the extra time to read books like I used to. I mean, I was the kind of kid that like had a new book every single week, just flying through them. I loved reading. I loved getting lost in fictional stories. And somewhere along the lines, like I said, around college, I lost that. And then about 2 years ago, I revisited with like just picking up books again in general. And then more specifically, picking up Nancy Drew books because I remembered that promise I'd made to my little 11-year-old self. And I wanted to go back and do that for me, and it has been a blast ever since. I have read some mysteries that I know I read as a kid, and some of them I really remembered, and then there were some that I know I read as a kid and I didn't remember a single thing about the book, so it was kind of like reading it again for the first time. And the other thing that I really enjoyed in a weird way is reading these children's books with an adult perspective and adult mindset, which is very different than how I obviously read them as a kid. And I just noticed things that I never would have noticed as a kid. Like, for one thing, Bess gets fat shamed a lot throughout the most of the earlier Nancy Drew books. Even now, I'm up to the books that were published about the early 80s, and it's definitely still very prevalent. I have to say there's definitely some things that you do not notice when you're a kid that you definitely notice when you're an adult. So it has just been a blast going back and reading those books, and I'm reading them in chronological order as well. When I was a kid, I would just pick up any Nancy Drew book I felt like reading and just kind of pop around. And I really love reading the books in a chronological order because it kind of gives me more of like a baseline as far as like the progression of the series and how the characters change a little bit here and there, and kind of just like whenever we have these like first things that happen throughout the series, it's really kind of fun to read that in a chronological order, which I definitely didn't do as a kid. I picked the books based on which ones I thought had like the prettiest covers. Like if Nancy was in a ball gown or a wedding dress or like a ballet tutu or something, I absolutely gravitated to those stories. So it's really fun to go back and read all these now. And like I said, some of them I know I've read, and it's like I can't remember a single thing from the story. So it's really fun just getting to relive that and not heal a piece of my childhood, but kind of like make good with my younger self. And even though it's taken me, like I said, it's up to about 2 years now that I have been reading these books, and I'm up to just finished book number 65 at the time that I'm recording this. And I do go kind of through these like little blocks at times where either I'm not making the time to read or I'm not prioritizing it. And I have been doing like weekly book reviews on all of them. And this last summer, I did end up taking a little bit of a break from those just because I did kind of feel like I was burning myself out a little bit. But now I am definitely trying to kind of get back into a more steady schedule as far as like reading them and doing my reviews and my weekly little shorts on all of them. It's just been a really fun thing for me. And also something that I feel like with my reading chart that I created, it's so nice getting to visualize my progress throughout the series because 175 books is a good amount of books for a single series, but it has been an absolute blast. And I know that when I finally get to the last Nancy Drew book in this series, I am definitely going to be very proud and very accomplished, but I think I'm also going to have like a little bit of a bittersweet kind of feeling to it as well, because I imagine it's probably going to take me a couple more years to get all the way through. If it's taken me this long to get to 65, I think it'll probably be a similar pace as far as how quickly I'm reading them, but I know that when I do finally get there, it's going to be a very bittersweet kind of moment. But luckily, after that, I do have a couple other Nancy Drew series that I do plan on reading. So I'm definitely planning on doing the Nancy Drew Files after the Nancy Drew Mystery Stories. And that is another really hefty series, like 100 plus books. I can't remember exactly. That one might have about, I don't know, maybe like 125. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I definitely have a lot of books planned out for the next several years, but it's absolutely been so much fun getting to kind of relive that part of my childhood. And then, of course, when I get to the Nancy Drew Files, it's kind of like Nancy's a little more grown up. She's like going to college and all that. So it'll definitely be fun to read a little bit more of like a mature kind of content matter as far as the Nancy Drew series go. But it has been an absolute blast, and I loved using this kit to kind of commemorate this particular point in my life. All right, guys, so that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on social media. Links are below. And until my next video, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.